Hello everyone, my name is Bill Behrens and I'm the president of True Colors International. And we're coming to you today to present to you some information about how to use True Colors in challenging times. We really understand and we know we're all going through some really unusual, challenging, difficult times. And with this COVID-19 challenge, it's really pressed a lot of us into some difficult behaviors and really understanding the world around us. And different people respond to these challenges differently. Some of us are dealing with challenges about health. Some of our challenges are more around financial. Certainly the whole idea of uncertainty, what's happening, am I okay, am I not okay? There's all the educational challenges with kids not in school and all of a sudden moms and dads are expected to be home teaching their children and more. I mean, we could go on and on about those challenges. So what we want to do today is to provide some help and some guidance and some understanding of some things that might help you in these challenging times. I've asked 4 of my colleagues, some great esteemed friends, to join us today. We have Monica. Hey, Monica, wave a little there. And we have Demetria there. And also Kevin. Hey. And also Jeff Coggan, better known as Cog. And they represent, Monica's from the healthcare industry, Demetria from the educational world, as well as she's a mom and teaching her kids at home. Kevin is, well, first and foremost, he's a new dad. Yay! He's not even a month old. Yay! Congratulations again, Kevin. That's awesome. But he's a business owner and he's out there in the commercial and industry world. He'll tell you more about that in a little bit. And Jeff, as you can tell by his uniform, we appreciate his service. Thank you very much, Jeff, for being a part of us and being a military veteran for us. Thank you for your service. So let's talk a little bit about True Colors. We're here to help. We want to help you see that we can help you understand more about yourself, more about others, and that challenging world all around us. Because indeed, it's a challenging and weird world right now. We've not been in these times where we're all sequestered to our homes. So I want to share a little bit about True Colors so you get the idea of what True Colors is all about. Let's talk about using True Colors in challenging times. Some of you might be thinking, well, True Colors, it's about a song or something like that. No, True Colors actually, it's a company that's been in business for over 40 years, a training and consulting company, and it revolves around this concept of temperament or personality typing. But really, it's a communication model that's deeply rooted in personality typing. So True Colors is all about 4 types, and those 4 types are really represented in these 4 colors. And you can see these cards that have these vibrant colors, but also they have these wonderful images that really depict what each of those color types are all about. So you can see there's the orange, gold, green, and blue. Now let's talk about those just a little bit. First of all, the orange, you can see pictures of like a snowboarder and dice and an eagle representing freedom, but they're playful, they're energetic, they're adventurous, and they're very resourceful, and they're active. They're the excited people. You have the golds. They're the responsible, dependable, organized, and thorough people. You can see the to-do list and the time and the business plan. That's how they operate. Then you also have the greens. They're thinkers. They want to process. They want to know why. They're very analytical. They're intellectual. They're the visionaries. They see things way out in the future, as well as they pride themselves in being knowledgeable. And last but not least, we have the blues. These are the caring, compassionate, nurturing people that are authentic and empathetic and passionate, and they're very flexible. And you can see some great images that depict that. So True Colors has all of those 4 types. And by the way, You have all four of those within you to differing levels. You have a spectrum. In fact, my color spectrum is orange, gold, blue, and green. And that's how I represent my true colors to the world around me. We also have products for every audience, but that's not what we're about today. But I want you to know that we have a lot of things that can help you. What we want to do today is to help you understand more about yourself and what you're going through in this challenging world around you. So I've gathered some of my friends here to help in sharing a perspective. So let's start off with Monica. Why don't you introduce yourself and give a little intro there?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Monica Ruggio. I am the founder and owner of Elevare, which is Latin meaning to elevate. And I'm on a mission to form servant leaders. But before founding Elevare, I spent almost 30 years in healthcare operations, finance, and project management. Through that, I learned the value of true colors. I had been through other behavioral assessments before that I really saw a lot of value from and that I gained a lot of insight about myself. However, I never really saw the return on the investment. With a CFO hat on perspective, I was always looking for where am I going to get the return on that investment that we made in these other modalities, because ultimately it would sit in a drawer somewhere and collect dust. And whenever I changed organizations years ago, I was asked to participate with a group of senior leaders in the True Colors workshop. And I was quite resistant to it, to be honest, because what I thought of with True Colors whenever I heard it was childish games. I didn't want to color in a coloring book. I had more important things to do. But after about 5 minutes, I realized that it was the simplicity of it that gave the value to it. And that's where I saw the return on the investment, because it was easily transferable in any walk of life and any scenario that you're encountering other people. So for months and years afterwards, we were still seeing the effects of that first True Colors workshop within our organization. And even to this day, people that I worked with years ago, whenever I encounter them now, we can have that same conversation about our color spectrums. So the value to me in that aha moment to me was seeing the simplicity of it, working out to where it was an easy conversation to transfer over to others. As far as how I use it in my everyday life as a leadership coach and trainer, I go through this with each of my new clients so that I can best serve them in knowing what their color spectrum is and how to interact with them more appropriately to expedite that learning process, but also for them to get that awareness and understanding about themselves. So it's a win-win from both perspectives, in my opinion. My color spectrum is, if you haven't figured it out yet, gold, green, blue, and orange. And I am excited to be a part of this panel. Thank you for the invitation, Bill.
Hello again, I'm Demetria Bell Anderson, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director for the Office of Engagement and Inclusion at Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I'm also a mom and a wife. My daughters are 18 and 11, 12 in a couple of weeks here, or next week actually. And I think what is interesting and why I think True Colors is really, really important. When I became a trainer about 7 years ago, and having now worked in higher education for about 18 years, or literally 18 years, what I've noticed with respect to True Colors is it's truly what I like to think of as two peas in a pod. So it's personal development as well as professional development. So those aha moments for me happen to cross over quite a bit from home life as well as personal life as well as work life. My color spectrum is gold, green, blue, and orange. And it's an awesome opportunity to be able to learn as much about yourself, but then also how to help understand differences between yourself and others. So it definitely shows up quite a bit for me in the workplace, being able to do different training opportunities for faculty, staff, and students on the campus where I've worked with other community partners in doing training to help them better understand their staff or the teams that they work with, as well as my own. So thank you again, Bill, for the invitation.
Absolutely.
Hey, everybody. So nice to see everyone again. Like Bill said, my name is Kevin Berryman. If you want to, I'm more of a millennial, so if you want to look me up on Facebook, I'm Kevin Berryman. And if you want to check me out on Insta, I'm Kevin the Edutainer, EDUTAINER. It's a shameless plug. My daily job, I work for UPS as a package delivery driver. And I use a lot of my true colors there in dealing with the public and dealing with, our clientele and who we do business with. But I really use it in our own business. My wife and I have a business called Synergized Community Solutions. And what we simply do is we go and we interact with so many different people, whether it's corporate or, for-profit, non-profit, and everything in between. We use true colors in vast ways. I'm using true colors now as true color in parenting, as I'm a new dad, like Bill says. So I'll be navigating those waters as my 4-week-old gets older. But I'm so excited about true colors simply because valuing differences and creating unity is what I'm all about. And I'm a public speaker, motivational speaker, a keynote, and I do a lot of trainings. And I am so passionate about bringing people into learning who they are, the greatness about themselves, as well as having to navigate and to really get to know how to navigate with others who are different than they are. And so True Colors is the perfect package to be able to bring to your organization, to bring to your household, to bring even to your animals. Because we have one for animals. So, True Colors it's a one-stop shop for everything that you need. And I am totally sold on it. I got exposed to it in 1998 at Legislative School for Youth Leadership Development. And I have been just hooked ever since. I'm on my way to elite facilitator status. So the sky's the limit for me and in True Colors. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody in their respective ways use it in their daily lives. So
fantastic. And again, congratulations, Kevin, on your new little girl and also on your growth and development for those advanced certification trainings to become an elite status facilitator for us. That's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. It's great being here with some great individuals. About 33 years, I've been very blessed to be able to serve our nation in the United States Air Force. I also spent some time in the Air National Guard. Currently, I'm in East Tennessee, beautiful Smoky Mountains, Rocky Top area, where I teach high school as an Air Force Junior RTC instructor. I retired in 2011 from the Air Force, but have pretty much kept my service going the whole time since then. Prior to True Colors, I had a chance to be both enlisted and an officer, spent a lot of time in training, but also did things in HR and also financial management. But really, True Colors was brought into my life when I was at Montgomery, Alabama. Around 2009, I was teaching at Air University. I was a leadership professor for one of our senior military training schools and had a chance to be certified. The one thing I love about True Colors is it's simple. I have did the other type of personality assessments. They're incredible, a lot of rich content, but I walked away a lot of times from them and I could not remember my personality type, and others could not quite remember theirs unless you had the information in front of you. So True Colors, I love it because once I had the chance to see it and get certified, it was easy. 4 colors, something that really sticks to you, and it's very intuitive. My wow moment was going around the world teaching over in Germany at Ramstein Air Base, and had taught a year before, brought True Colors into this financial management organization. And a year later, a gentleman approached me and he said, "Cog, I need to talk to you." He goes, "A year ago you came here and you talked about True Colors and you helped us understand our personality types, and it really helped develop the camaraderie and teamwork in our organization. But," he goes, "beyond that, you saved my marriage and I want to thank you." And I'm like, "Wow, how do you mean?" And he goes, he and his wife were kind of just drifting apart. It really felt like they just had lost the passion, and the connection didn't seem like it was there. There seemed like there was a lot of arguing. And after he had True Colors, he brought that home to his wife, and they started looking at their particular personality types. And they realized it wasn't that they had lost the love or the passion, but they just see the world differently. And by understanding ourselves, by understanding others, it just brings power of diversity and of teamwork, and it brought that relationship back together. And even my own home, I have two babies, kind of like Kevin. Mine's 26 and 23, but they're always your babies. It's kind of like the country music song. I realize my babies, all of mine, my wife and my two sons, are both very analytical, very, thinking, and that what we call that green personality type. And I'm much more on my spectrum. I'm a gold, very strong gold, but I'm a blue, orange, and then green's kind of more on the right side, on the lesser side. So there was a clumping of mom and our sons to one side, and until we realized it was because of personality, I was kind of feeling a little bit left out. But now we're able to put words to our actions and the way we see life, and it has just made our relationship so much better. So it's a powerful tool. I use it with teenagers, adults. I brought it into the junior RTC. I brought it into senior RTC when I was teaching at the University of Tennessee for a while. It's an amazing, powerful tool. So it's just great to be here. And Bill, thanks again for the invitation.
So excited to have you with us, Cog, and really, again, appreciate your service to our country. Cog just mentioned the idea of this whole thing of a spectrum. Everyone has all of those color types within us. The orange, excited person, the gold, organized person, orderly person, the green, the thinker, and the blue, the caring, loving, compassionate one. Everybody has those to differing levels in different situations, and we all have that spectrum. It's just to differing levels. So really, we have all four. We have the same four. It's just to differing levels. So Monica, tell us about some of the challenges you see for each of the color types, particularly in the healthcare world that you are so actively engaged in.
Well, as a gold brightest color, I like to put my blocks in order. So whenever we're talking about those spectrums, whenever we talk about the brightest color, we typically put that one to the left, like we're reading left to right, with our palest color, the one that we don't have as much of those character traits in us, all the way to the right. So looking at it from the healthcare perspective, and because of the times that we find ourselves in right now with COVID-19, we're in a heightened sense of stress right now in all aspects, not just healthcare, right? And whatever our brightest temperament is can be more pronounced during high stress situations. So we're seeing a lot of that no matter where you are. In healthcare, and I do want to give a shout out as far as the healthcare industry system is concerned, that we see a lot about the doctors and nurses on the front lines, but there are so many other people who are in the trenches with these clinicians. There are other types of clinicians like respiratory therapists, phlebotomists, pharmacists, CNAs, et cetera, as well as the non-clinical staff, the support workers, your food service industry, your environmental services, your administrative staff. So it is an entire system of people who are out there to take care of a singular patient. So we can't lose sight of that. And I love the fact that True Colors can be such a complement to this system, especially if we've taken that preventative care. We see the difference with organizations. I've worked with an organization last year, the entire year, doing True Colors and communication and team building. And I was on the phone with them just this morning, and they were saying how they don't know how they would be going through this crisis had they not had that level of awareness and understanding that they brought to their organization with True Colors. So it has really helped to build their resilience and their tenacity in being able to navigate this crisis from a healthcare perspective. They're the front lines, and they're feeling the pressure the most. So we're seeing a lot of heightened temperaments being expressed. And so whenever we understand what each of those people bring to the table, no matter if they're clinical or non-clinical, when they can have that awareness and understanding to bring that together, it helps them expedite that learning curve to get through the crisis or flow through the crisis a little bit more easily and readily. I like to say it helps them to flatten that curve
Yep.
a bit more quickly.
Demetria, why don't you share some of your perspectives, particularly in the educational world?
I think looking at it from the perspective of a parent of kids who are in school right now, still doing classwork as we speak upstairs, but then also working with college students who may have not signed up to do coursework online, at least not to this extent. Part of it is also understanding our student leaders. So the office that I work with, I get to work with a lot of amazing student organization leaders. We have over almost 300 student orgs. So try to still find opportunities and ways to connect with them where they're used to being in person and doing a lot of those things. It's been interesting for our staff to be able to kind of make some adjustments to how we even approach our work on a day-to-day basis. One of the things I think, especially thinking about the color spectrum, is knowing that our goals are typically the ones who are thinking about, okay, well, what's the plan and how do I do these different pieces? So whether it's a college student, a high school, middle school, elementary school student, or a college student who's still trying to navigate the things that they would normally be doing at this time on our campus. So what's the plan? And then helping them identify how to make some of those adjustments. When I think about our oranges, they're going to ask, well, what's the action and how do we get to do what those things are? So a little bit different from the golds, but what are those actionable items and how can we make those things work? Thinking about our blues, this is going to be an interesting time because our blues are really wondering how's everybody else doing, and what are some things that we can do to be on the lookout to support those other folks. And then our greens are going to be the ones that are probably going to be really interested in, okay, well, why are we doing this and what's next? So thinking ahead, being that visionary thinker. So when you're thinking in terms of education, whether it's taking classes online, there's a certain level of responsibility that our goals will feel that we have to get it done. And when things are not working a certain way, they may get a little flustered with that. Our greens might be folks who may not be able to turn off the information that's happening, that 24-hour news cycle, because our greens are the analytical and they're very much interested in knowledge, sometimes for the sake of and wanting to be as informed as possible. So that may be another way that our greens are showing up. And then again, back to our blues, just worried because the loved ones of friends or families, people that they may not even know, but as they're watching and seeing the things being reported on the news and those different daily updates and things like that, the blues are probably going to internalize that a little bit more and may feel a little bit more challenged. So when you pull all of those things into the concept of education and to actually be able to stay focused on education, I think this is one of those opportunities where on our campus we talk a lot about giving grace, right? And understanding that as a parent, that day-to-day rigid schedule that your kids may have had during the traditional school day, it's okay because they've got 24 hours now. They've got a whole day to figure out how they're going to do what it is that they need to do for classwork. And as parents, we are not necessarily trained as educators. I tip my hat to those who are. But, when you think about those opportunities and experiences now, because we are hopefully home together and we're able to learn a little bit more just about who our kids are, especially and for the parents of college students, you get to see your students in a whole different opportunity, especially for those who are not typically at home. So not thinking necessarily about our commuter students from the perspective of you get to see them all the time, but those opportunities to really kind of connect and see who your student actually is. And then giving them, again, a little bit of grace to be able to take a step back and relax and kind of hit the release valve before needing to kind of focus again on it. I think there's probably not an educator in this country who's not also thinking about that same perspective for their own students. So.
Absolutely. And thanks for bringing out each of those types. And particularly, I was thinking as you were speaking of all those compassionate nurturer type educators, they're probably missing just that contact, right? I mean, virtual's good, but
Yeah.
it's not like them being able to hold on and pat those students on the back, and that physical contact is really a need.
Yeah.
And everybody has some real needs that may not be met right now. Kevin, let's hear from your perspective.
As true to my color spectrum, which I did not mention earlier, which is typical for my color, I am an orange, blue, gold, green. And so for me, oranges need that fun, that variety, that stimulation, that excitement. And because of that, and me being with my child, as well as a lot of our businesses and clients not being able to do things in person, we now have a fully manicured lawn. We have clean closets. We have a cleaned out garage. So what I've been doing is really utilizing the things that fuel me to be able to be productive in the house and to make my green wife happy. On top of that, we know that as we're trying to flatten this curve, there's a lot of business leaders who are really trying to keep their people productive, keep them efficient, but keep them engaged, because right now a lot of people aren't doing as good as they desire or they want to, but True Colors is really helping to bring them together. And even virtually, as True Colors offers, it's a great option to be able to get everybody together and to kind of navigate this thing together, because I mean, no doubt about it, we all are in this together, and it's something that we all feel. And so using our different strengths, as well as working on some of the palest areas of our colors, we'll be able to put together something that will help us transcend through this tough time. And so for me, I'm more on the offense, and I'm just trying to build my to the right, as Cog would say. We're trying to do that to become more effective and efficient.
Fantastic. Great perspective. I love that. So Cog, give us a little military perspective, because our military members are used to challenging times, but this is unprecedented.
Absolutely. And though, you know, people wear the uniform, and we've got some incredibly brave warriors out there who've been through a lot of different conflicts and situations, we're all human beings. You take that uniform off, we're really no different from anybody else. We've had some experiences, some training, but at the end of the day, we're just humans dealing with situations as well. Right now, my current situation, I'm in a Air Force Junior RTC program. And for those who may or may not be familiar with that, that is a leadership citizenship program at the high school level. So basically I get an opportunity, fortunate, blessed to work with 9th through 12th graders, trying to develop our future leaders, citizens of character. We operate very much like a military organization. We have a hierarchy, we have a rank structure, and it's amazing what you see young teenagers doing, whether it's community service, whether it's physical fitness, whether it's making a difference in the community that they're serving. But when this crisis came about, obviously a lot of our schools, the majority of our schools have closed down. We went to a virtual environment. The challenge then is, how does these different color spectrums, these personality types, respond to a new environment? We went from a classroom, in-person, very social type of structure to now one that's more online at a distance. And much as many of my colleagues mentioned, you see the different color types coming out. So I really have been doing a little bit of a case study, taking a look at our top 4 positions in our cadet squadron. We have what we call as our cadre assistant, which is one of our most senior cadets. This young man is a senior and graduating this year, and your hearts go out for those who are graduating this year.
For sure.
Challenging time, and really for all those who are out there with kiddos graduating, or maybe you're a graduate in 2020, be very proud of what you've done. An opportunity to just recognize you. We know that will come around, but we are so proud of you. So he's a senior. He's very much a gold. He is right now just trying to make sure that our cadets are doing their assignments. You know, they're getting these online homework assignments and virtual assignments from different classes, including Junior RTC. And his goal is reaching out and trying to make sure that the cadets are still doing what they need to do. And so he's kind of being a mentor and reaching out at a distance and making sure folks are staying organized and on task and following schedules. Our squadron commander, who's our most senior cadet right below that individual, is another senior. He is a blue. He loves his cadets. He has a heart the size of Texas. And right now, his biggest thing is, he's struggling because of the isolation. What feeds his energy is the day-to-day interaction with his cadets, and he surely is missing that. So he's having to try to rethink, and he's not necessarily a technological sort of guy. So he's having to learn, how do we build relationships via email and via, like he says, social media. But that's how he's reaching out and doing his mission right there. Our deputy commander, very much a green, and we don't have as many greens, those analytical thinkers, as we'd like sometimes. Very smart. He's sharing these new tools. How do we connect? How do you do your homework using virtual tools? So he's trying to help folks engage intellectually into a virtual environment. Finally, what we call our first sergeant, and that first sergeant, just like in any military organization, is the link between our officers and our enlisted, our more junior folks. They had to have a big caring heart, but they also had to be organized and sometimes had to be a little bit of a disciplinarian. Our first sergeant's very much an orange. You can tell he loves competition, and oranges do love competing, and sometimes they like things to be changing rapidly. He's introduced an online strategic World War II type of gaming opportunity to our cadets, just to build morale, to feed his competitive and other orange's competitive needs, but at the same time be learning about military history. So it's just amazing to watch this play out. However, moving from an in-classroom type of organization to a virtual organization, it's going to require different skill sets that our senior leaders aren't quite as used to. So the question is, how do we develop our squadron commander, who's a blue, to be a little bit more analytical, more green, to figure out how to operate in this virtual environment, and the same for these other individuals. But True Colors is a great and powerful tool to use, and we're glad that we had introduced this to our cadets before we met this crisis, because now we can touch base on these True Colors and continue to develop in that regard.
Great comments, and thank you again, Jeff, for your service, and love the fact that you get to continue to develop the rising generation, our future leaders. So what are you seeing? What are you experiencing? What are you thinking? What are you feeling?
You said this, people are people are people. It doesn't matter the industry or organization. And that's why True Colors is so transferable in any aspect that we're encountering. And from the lens of healthcare, I often use the analogy of boxes in our workshops to display the temperament and how they interact with one another. And if we've taken that preventative care and introduced True Colors to really build those robust teams, those complementary teams in that aspect, then we'll recognize that when we're in that high stress, when we're operating in a smooth system, we look at our boxes, right? And if we look at an orange is going to be the one who's jumping out of the box and who's juggling the boxes, right? But in a high stress situation, that's going to be more pronounced. They're going to be jumping from patient to patient. So in healthcare, just transfer the term box to patient. And they're going to be jumping from patient to patient. They're going to be the shiny object syndrome, and they're going to be moving really fast. Whereas the golds are going to be trying to put all the boxes in order and compartmentalize things and making sure that all the tasks are checked off and that we're not missing anything. And then you have the greens who are going to be analyzing the box. They're going to be analyzing the patient. They're going to be asking the questions, getting the patient's history, asking about the home environment. Where were they exposed? All these questions. And so they may come to the patient presenting in a very rigid, just peppering them, giving them the third degree. However, that's where they're helping. That's how they're helping the system, is by asking those questions and analyzing. And then finally, we have the blue box, who is walking around hugging the box and comforting the box. They're going to be the one that's walking around hugging and comforting the patient. And they're probably the ones who are struggling the most because they can't hug them. They can't have that physical contact. So understand that whenever we've taken that preventative care, the system's going to work so much more smoothly with that understanding of why people are responding in the way that they are and how to make sure they're integrating with one another. That keeps us moving forward, as opposed to if we didn't take that preventative care. to have this awareness and understanding, it makes it a lot more stressful.
Of those different types, I'm thinking how certain people, given certain circumstances, maybe the most gold organized person may find themselves to need to be hearing and compassionately soothing someone to, because that's what we need or what they needed, right? So it's not just, we're not just going to look around for a blue to take care of the hug need or the emotional support. We're all doing that.
Sure, because it's not about the person, the healthcare worker, it's about what the patient needs,
Right.
and being able to recognize that and brighten our other temperaments to give the patient what they need.
I think about Dr. John Maxwell. I love his quote, says everything rises and falls on leadership.
Yep.
Leadership is critical. Where there's no leadership, the people will perish. And particularly in times of crisis, it's critically important that we have authentic leaders who understand their self, but also understand those that they lead. Because again, everyone's nervous right now. Everyone's stressed. We've got to realize that this crisis has pushed people into some very dark places. And this time, probably more than ever, is we've got to understand that our perspectives doesn't always match with those that we have the opportunity to work with. This is where I love True Colors again. It's simple. You can understand it. And to me, any tool needs to be simple. It needs to be something that can be used, particularly in crisis. It doesn't need to be complex. And right now, we're able to bring it to these young high schoolers who hopefully are bringing it into their families.
Right.
We've got folks who have lost their jobs. We've got folks who are concerned about how are they going to continue putting food on the table. And right now, it may be some of these young people who, because of True Colors, are understanding themselves a little better, understand their mom or dads or brothers and sisters, and they're bringing a calm to a very hectic situation.
Absolutely.
And so we find that this is just a critical tool that is needed now more than ever.
You mentioned the idea of how it's easy to utilize and understand, but it also tends to lead to the idea of make it more memorable. It's sticky. It's something that you can use
That's right.
forever. And those young people that are learning it now, they'll get to use that the rest of their life.
A wise man once said that, I believe it was you who told me this, but he said, blessed are those who remain flexible, for they'll never be bent out of shape.
That's true.
That thing hit me so hard in one of the trainings, because we are in times where we really don't know the next step or the next outcome or what's going to happen, but it's going to indeed cause us all to be extremely flexible and to be able to double click on all of our colors, meaning that if I need to be green to do some more analytical and get some more insight, I can do that. Or if I need to go to my gold and be a little bit more thorough and sensible about how I'm going about this thing, or if I'm blue and if I need to tell those loved ones I love them through a FaceTime, or getting creative, and then also just being able to be my innate orange and just being able to be optimistic and eager regardless of the information that's being presented to me. I think that True Colors does an amazing job in helping us all to navigate those waters.
Things when I think about True Colors, and yes, everything that everyone has said is really important. When I think about students, so as Cog mentioned, some high school students, but personally living in a house with an 11-year-old who will be 12 next week, and we've got to figure out what does the birthday situation look like for her as we're social distancing, or the high school senior who is missing out on prom, and we don't know when graduation will happen, and is now looking forward to the fall semester at a college, a university that she's decided to go to down in New Orleans, but we're in Milwaukee. So what does all of that look like? When I think in terms of how we as individuals, we as humans can really harness our true colors once you know what your spectrum is, right, is understanding what do things look like for each one of us as individuals when we're out of esteem or when things are kind of off a little bit for us. So when I think about our orange friends, understanding that orange individuals are typically very skilled in what they're doing. They value that skill. They're in esteem when their skill is being able to be demonstrated. But a lot of times folks will think of our oranges as kind of goofing off. Well, in times like this, think of those oranges, reframe that thought to make it so that they're providing levity, right? They're the ones who are going to hopefully help us enjoy our alone time together, if you will. When we think about our goals typically come from a space of where there's a will, there's a way, right? So now that things are a little bit in flux and goals aren't necessarily always at their best to be able to do some of the things that they're most accustomed to do, you might sometimes, when a goal is out of esteem, see them as someone who is complaining, or they may be living in a space of self-pity right now just because things are not what they're used to. Things are feeling a little bit more out of control for them. So if they start to behave a little bit bossy or may seem a little bit rigid because dinner time is going to be at this time every single day and we're all going to sit down together and do it, you might want to go with it a little bit just because that's going to help them kind of reclaim some sense of normalcy that they may be lacking right now. So they're more so looking for a routine and wanting to provide that sense of stability in a way that they're most comfortable and they feel like they can most contribute to it. Our blue friends, they do everything from their heart, as we've heard about so far. So the emotional side of our blues start to show up a whole lot more right now. And when they're out of esteem, sometimes it could appear as though the blues might be attention seeking. My 11-year-old can be a loner all day, but she will pop down every so often just because she wants a hug because she's lonely, or she just wants that additional human interaction that normally may not have been her thing, at least not so often. So instead of thinking that our blues are emotional, just think of them as being compassionate. They're checking on us as well as kind of checking in for themselves. And then last but not least, I think about our green friends. And our greens are definitely going to be the ones who are visionary. They're going to be looking for, what's next and how do we beat this thing, or how can we, kind of make sure that everyone is being okay. So a lot of times when our greens are out of esteem or may not be at their best or that they're brightest, they may be a little bit more indecisive, than folks are accustomed to when you think about who our green individuals typically are. They may tend to withdraw or seem a little bit more withdrawn than normal. But just know that for them, they're exercising that analytical side of themselves. And we want to make sure that we're paying attention to their need for information. So I think I mentioned before that sometimes our greens may not turn off the news. Or sometimes they may say, I've had enough and I need to turn off the news, and to be able to give them that space to kind of live in that. So I don't know. I think a lot of things with True Colors, whether it's the college student or folks in the healthcare industry, or folks in our supply chain industry. So yes, Kevin, thank you to you and your colleagues for continuing to make sure those things show up, and COG with our military forces. True Colors is definitely an awesome opportunity to help us, I think, kind of settle ourselves, learn a little bit more about ourselves, but to also understand how do we then work within the constraints of where we are right now, whether that's home or still out in the community doing the great work that needs to be done so we can flatten the curve and get on with the rest of our lives.
So I just want to applaud each of you. Monica, for you and your service that you're doing in that healthcare world. We so appreciate those frontline folks that are dealing with this COVID-19 crisis, this situation, and wow, what a great use of True Colors in that environment. COG, you're doing great things to help develop that next generation. We so appreciate your service and our United States Air Force. And Kevin, oh my goodness, new dad, and wow, what a great horizon here you have in front of you as a business leader in your community. Demetra, we all tip our hats, don't we, to all those educators that are out there trying to keep it moving, trying to support students in a time that we had no idea that we were going to be doing it this way. And remember, we're all in this together. We're working our way through this, and True Colors can help. Go online, check out our website And it all revolves around, you've heard a couple of people mention this, it all revolves around True Colors is about valuing differences and creating unity. And I'm so thankful and grateful that you've spent some time with us to learn about how to use True Colors in these challenging times. And again, I'm so thankful and grateful, 2 thumbs up, to our panelists. I'm so thankful that they have shared their wisdom with all of us today. So with that, we'll close. Thank you very much. And as I always like to say, make it a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.